We speak to author and broadcaster Thabiso Sikwane about her children's book, Modimo wa rata, or God Loves You. She says it's a book that reminds our children that they are the world and that they are precious and loved the way they are. Sikwane says in a world where black children and people with disabilities are often minimized, it's important to teach them that they are enough. She joins us now for more. A very good evening to you, Thabiso, and thank you so much for speaking to us. So, is there a personal story behind this? What drove you to write this book?
Definitely is a personal story, Thabiso. Thank you so much for having me on tonight. A lot of people our age will be able to attest to this, that we can't run away from the fact that as black people, we live in a world of duality. And it's better now for our children. I'm 46, in that we are now able to, more than our parents perhaps were able to, empower our children to believe in themselves, to love themselves, and to be comfortable enough with who they are in whatever spaces they occupy when they leave the home.
So, as you say, based on your experience and the experiences of others, and highlighting the fact that it is better now, but I suppose some people will say, why specifically focus on black and brown children and those who are differently abled?
Because the reality of the world is that if you go to any, a lot of your ECD facilities, you go to your primary schools, our children don't see themselves enough. There isn't a balance, and there isn't, in my view, a deliberate effort to make sure that our education system mirrors back and represents what this country really is for all children. And there's something I'm very uncomfortable about when my child, for instance, looks through a Bible about God and all he sees is white. What does that say to a child? It said a lot of things to me that I wondered about myself, that had me question myself, am I valid? And I felt like, had I not been validated by my parents to the extent that they did, it would have impacted on me in a negative way to be able to be who I am. Simple things like the fact that my parents made very sure that I never allowed anybody to call me by a name that's not mine without even making the effort. I from a young age knew to understand that my name is Thabiso, and I need to be comfortable and confident enough in who I am to say to people, respect my name, not to allow things like, oh, I can't say your name, can I just call you Tabs? So it's things that seem small and insignificant, but they are a big deal. And it's about just allowing parents, especially with the language issue. Our parents, bless their souls, were doing their best to make sure that we got a better education. But there's a lot that's been quite regressive about exposing us to our education system, of what was then a multiracial school. And you had situations where black children were in the minority. And even now, there isn't still a concerted effort to make sure that, our cultures are represented adequately. The fact that children are still forced to speak, to learn Afrikaans, and that 11 official languages, practicalities aside and the challenges around that, we need to make more of an effort to make sure that a child who speaks in Ndebele at home is able to express themselves in that language. And it's been proven research that when children are taught in their mother tongue, concepts and understanding of a lot of work, comes easier. And I think we need to be more deliberate about that at all levels. And education is not only about what happens at school. At home, we also have a role to play.
And I appreciate so much what you're saying, because I think a lot of us would know that from experience, that you're diminished for being different. We showed in pictures there excerpts from your book. I saw there's a child with vertigo there. How do you explain those complex issues to a child about identity and self-love? And as you mentioned, sometimes when you promote self-love, some people take it as an offense. They're so quick to say you're actually speaking the opposite, the negative about them.
I've had questions around that, and my question when people say things like that is, it feels like we're being othered as black people, that we've seen it as normal when we look through books, when our children read books and stories, and everything is lily white. So we've got to unlearn that as normal. The normal thing is what the reality is, and we've got to be adamant about that.
And you also speak about shades of brownness. That also goes into a very deep, issue with a very complex historical past. So how do you explain that? How does your book do that for children?
I also didn't fully answer your first question, so I'll answer both of them. And starting off with this one, that Basically, I believe, and just from my own experience and how I was raised, understanding that you are loved, understanding that you are enough as you are, enables you to then appreciate other people, because you think that if I am loved, what makes another person not worthy of being loved, whether it's their physical appearance, whether it is their personality, and any other trait, through which you interact with another person. And for me, that's key. And it's been a very concerted and deliberate approach in raising our children, that we also speak to them in Setswana, and explaining the collective approach to life as a people, as Africans, and just not making sure that whatever it is that they're exposed to when they go out of the home in outside cultures or outside of the home, that they don't necessarily feel the pressure to assimilate it. They can be who they are, take in other aspects and positive aspects of other cultures, and still be themselves and hold their own. And also the question that you go back about, when you teach self-love, how that's sometimes misconstrued to be selfishness and arrogant. You can't give what you don't have. And it's important that we give them love in the home, we affirm them, so that they don't go looking out there for it, and that they are also able to give that love, so that we raise holistic people who understand the importance of kindness and of love. And as a Christian, it's paramount to me to teach our children that you are loved and you are created by a God who is all about love. And you've got no right to be hating. You've got no right to be discriminating when you are loved so much.
All right. Thank you so much. We really appreciate that, Thabiso Sikwane.